and we have a very special guest with us this week. We have Miss Angie Gilner from Worcester, Ohio. Not Worcester, Massachusetts, but Worcester, Ohio. They say the R in Ohio. What's up, Angie?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are super excited to have you here. And Angie we were visiting before we got on the show, and Angie's story is just absolutely amazing as far as just what she has been through with COVID and, her business. But what Angie has done is she has done exactly what Stu is always preaching, which is adapting and evolving and keeping a great attitude and figuring stuff out. I almost said figuring shit out, but I wouldn't say that.
What? Say it.
Say it. And her just what she's doing is absolutely amazing. So what I thought we would do is Stu does on his podcast the tactical
fitness report. I have a
fitness report.
I have a segment called To, Through, and After.
Right. And I've been listening to it when I've been doing my rucking, because I've been doing a lot more rucking because I'm getting ready for that 26.2 mile ruck in October. And so to distract myself and to make myself feel better, I have been listening to stuff and I've been listening to Stu's podcast, and it's amazing. Just the people that he's been interviewing. He interviewed a female SWAT operator lady that just sounded, I wouldn't want to meet her. I would, but not on the wrong end of stuff. She was something. And then another lady who was in the Secret Service and then did investigations and personal protection all over them. I'm like, no, dude, I don't. So it's amazing. But I love the format, because what Stu does is he finds out from people who have been in the kind of tactical profession that people want to be in. What was your life like before? What was it like getting through the training, getting through everything, and then what's your life been like since? And that's an amazing format to use really for anything. And Angie has an absolutely amazing story. And so I'm actually going to let Stu take the lead on this, and imagine that Angie is a SWAT operator only in the area of small business and what she's done with her book and stuff. And then I'll pipe in periodically with stuff. So take it away, Stu.
All right, Angie. So my first question typically is, who was Angie? Teenage Angie. What was your work life like? Your school life. What were your goals and dreams back then? And what made you kind of go down the route that you're on now?
Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I grew up in farm country with the Amish, and my father was in law enforcement my entire life. He retired when I was an adult, and as a teenager, I was the very rebellious hellraiser. Like, I put a Volkswagen Beetle up on top of the band room of our high school, not myself, but a group of us, like crazy stuff like that.
Impressive.
So I had a lot of fun. I wasn't very smart, but I had a lot of fun. And I was always just like the class clown, because I love to joke around. And much like Jim, and I know he wrote this in one of his books, that, he loves to be up on stage and say stuff, and I love to be on stage and say stuff. And so I've always been like that, clear back. Even when I was in kindergarten, I remember telling the kindergarten teacher, get out of my way, because I'm teaching art and I can't even draw a stick figure. So this has kind of been my personality my entire life. But all growing up, I was always like the go-to friend, because I was trustworthy. And my friends would always come to me and share their woe is me stories. And some of them were kind of horrific, because everyone grows up differently and we all have a story. And so not only my father's influence, but me being that type of friend who was the go-to, the trustworthy friend, kind of led me down this path of wanting to help people. And my dad had always told me, you are going to grow up and help people. Like, and in my early adulthood, of course, I was like, yeah, no, if my dad says I'm going to do it, then I'm not going to do it just because my dad says I'm going to do it. Because that's the kind of teenager I was.
Sure.
But then, I learned that we all have our gifts. And one of my gifts is helping people. And integrity for me is like the number one thing that I value above everything else. And so those two things kind of went hand in hand, because that allowed for people to feel very safe and come and talk with me about some pretty heavy stuff. And interestingly enough, I actually went to college and I became a social worker, which has served me very well.
Oh, absolutely.
In a helping profession. So I have that kind of a unique background when coming from a leadership perspective, because when people are talking to me about their anxieties at work, absolutely. And I'm qualified and trained enough that I'm not doing therapy with them, but I can give them the tips and tricks of things that I've learned, because I've 27 years now. May was 27 years. I've been doing this type of thing. So, yeah. And so I started a business called Empower Training Company about 9 years ago, because I was tired of being told that's all you're worth whenever I would go in and ask for a raise. And I'm like, no, I'm worth more than that.
That's good.
And I'm going to prove that I'm worth more than that. So I went out, started my own business, created a niche for myself in the small business world, and fast forward, and here I am.
Hey, that's awesome, Angie. Tell me this real quick. I'm going to back you up just a notch. What was your first job?
Oh, so actually my very first job was working on the farm.
Okay.
I grew up on a farm, and I learned my work ethic on a farm.
Nice. So tell me about what was your first job in this genre that you're in now?
So I actually have, I've switched genres. I moved from small businesses to working with female millennials, which I have coined and actually got the copyright on the term feminals, female millennials. So yeah, and yeah, I got a little creative there and got the copyright on that. And so would you like to know about the small business part or the?
Oh, I'm just curious. I'm just trying to like show an evolution to like where you are now, and what made you make those changes. And
well, let me. Can I ask real quick, what was your first job out of college? Once you got your you got your degree in social work and were qualified to do that, what was your first job? Were you a social worker?
So I was a social worker, but I was also a professional trainer. And I've always, I was the girl in college, or even in high school, whenever the teacher or professor would ask for somebody to go first, I was always the person who raised my hand. I always wanted to go first. It's just my personality. And so I was a social worker, but I was also a professional trainer. And I would go and train for these very large organizations, where I would be training 800, 1,000 people at a time. And it was on areas such as, social work types of things. I'm also a chemical dependency counselor. I got that along the way. And so I would talk about self-care and how that all goes into leadership development. And then I became a certified human trafficking investigator along the way. And so I would go and train on that topic as well. And so, so I was a social worker, but I was really more of a professional trainer.
Nice.
That's quite that's quite the toolbox.
Now, did you find there was a need to diversify your training because of some of the people you were talking to along the way?
Yes, absolutely. And I always like to do things just a little bit differently than what mainstream does. And so I looked for niches of where is there a need? Where are there gaps? Where are things that suit my skill set that I can fill in those gaps, such as being a certified human trafficking investigator? There's not a lot of us out there. And then people to go out and train on that is a whole other thing, because people, they think they know, but they don't have the certification in the background to really train properly.
Right. I have some friends that are hunt down human traffickers.
Ooh.
I don't think they had much social work training in that process, but they.
I don't think sensitivity training is a big thing when dealing with those people.
I don't think they go there to talk.
No, nor should they. I mean, honestly, I wish I would love to just do a ride along, because that would be so much fun.
Yeah. So the journey has continued. Now you're an entrepreneur. What was that transition like for you?
So I was training for a very large organization down at the Columbus Convention Center, and I had gained a mentor. I've been training for this organization for approximately 10 years. Every year they had this very large annual conference, and I was one of their regular trainers. And I had gained a mentor from my experiences down there, and she was from Columbus. And I was sharing with her some things that I just was not satisfied working for a traditional organization. I was tired of being told that's all you're worth whenever I would go and ask for a raise. I even learned when I did early on in my career, when I did my very first employee evaluation after becoming a supervisor, that I was making $3,000 a year less than someone I supervised. And I'm like, something's really not right with this.
That's not right.
And so I went, I will call it a heated discussion, and I'm being nice when I say that, with the CEO. And he said, that's all you're worth. And that kind of translated into, multiple other quote unquote leaders have told me that throughout my professional career. And I'm like, no, I challenge that. So I went to my mentor and I said, look, I'm on the struggle bus here. Like, I know this is wrong. I'm not sure what to do. And I said, I'm really thinking about this journey of opening my own training company. And I said, if I did this, would you come with me? Like, would you continue to pay me to come and train for this organization on a yearly basis? And could you help a sister out? Like, could you get me connected with some people, And she was like, absolutely. So this was on a Thursday. I had not even spoke to my husband about wanting to start my own business. So I called him Thursday night and I said, when I get home on Friday, I'm going to go into the office on Saturday, clean out my desk, because I'm quitting on Monday. And my husband said, you're going to do what? Because we'd never talked about what was going on in my mind, and because I wasn't sure. So I did that. And
what you're saying, Angie, is you were jumping off the struggle bus and getting on the FU bus.
Amen.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Here we go.
And I knew they weren't going to have me work out my notice. I knew it because the CEO and I just butted heads, and he did not believe I was worth more. And so I cleaned out my desk on Saturday, went in on Monday, threw my thing down, and he said, I wish you well. And he's like, and I'll look for your resume whenever this doesn't work out. And I was like, oh. You don't know me.
Yeah.
You do not know my grit and tenacity, because this is not no. I'm like, dude, yeah, you're mercy.
You gotta send him a copy of your book.
Well, interestingly enough, I did.
Yes. There you go. Nice touchdown.
I autographed it and said, I'm worth more.
Nice.
Suck on this pickle, buddy.
Nice work.
Yes.
Yeah, we think alike. I like that, Angie. Good work.
Very cool. It's funny. And this is Angie's story, not Jim's story, but I got fired on a Friday too. I got fired on a Friday, and it was. I've seen a lot of similarities between our stories. The boss that treats you badly, and you use that actual. A lot of people, it would beat them down, but you used it as a springboard to be like, oh hell no. and I actually had a picture of that guy next to a picture of me standing with my wife. And anytime my resolution would flag, or I was just feeling like I wanted to quit for the day or something, I would look at that picture and it would piss me off, and I would keep working. That's how I could put in 16, 18-hour days for 7 days a week, which was necessary when I was first getting it rolling. Yeah,
Nice.
Screw that dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Love it.
Nice. I love that phrase too. I'm on the struggle bus. I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
I like the FU bus. That FU bus is better.
Yeah, I like that FU bus a lot.
That's cool. So what was it like once you once you got rolling, or once you went out on your own? Then you say you did 9 years with that company, or with your company targeting small businesses and stuff. Tell us about that.
So that it actually was great. I was so blessed in the fact that I never had to pay for advertising, because word of mouth referrals were my bread and butter. And I had carved out this special niche for myself, and I traveled all around Ohio and all of the connecting states to Ohio. And I had a really thriving business, and I was just loving life. And then COVID hit.
Oh.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what was that like? What happened then?
So COVID decimated my business, and I had to learn very quickly. I have learned to dislike the word pivot. In the beginning of COVID, I kept talking about pivoting. Now I have become to really resent that word, and I really don't like it.
I prefer evolve.
There, I like that so much better. And I said, okay, you're Angie Gilner. You have no barriers in life, because you let nothing get in your way. What are you going to do? How are you going to grab yourself up by your bootstraps? I have a hell of a work ethic, because my dad taught me well. And I said, okay, here's what I have to do. And my small business market, it dried up, as many small businesses did. They just didn't have the money to pay me. And I got it. Like, I totally understood. So I did lose $89,000 during COVID, which was ouchie, a lot ouchie. And I kept having to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to do things differently? And during my early on, like in, I want to say April of 2020, I actually stumbled upon Jim Edwards online, and I began following him and learning from him, and implementing. Like, I love, he's all about verbs, and I love that, because I am all about verbs, because nothing happens without verbs. So I would hang on his every word and listen to his podcast, follow him. I've purchased different things from him throughout the last over a year now, and just learned to do things differently. I explored a different market, which is where I found I really connect well with female millennials. And then I got the bug to write a book, and he helped me with that, whether he knew it or not.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, we're all on the Jim Edwards bus.
Yes.
I mean, that's for sure.
I'm a geeking out Uber fan right now. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's awesome. But it's, when we were talking earlier, I mean, I appreciate that. And it's a blessing to have an impact on someone's life like that. But I got to tell you, Angie, the amount of action that you have taken, and you deserve to have reflected back to you 10x any of the great positive energy that you're putting out towards me and towards Stu and others, because you take action, you do the stuff, you do what we teach. It's one thing to tell people, and a lot of people who hear it and it goes in one ear and the other, or they live on someday I'll do this, someday I'll get to that. And
One day.
So and Angie's like, dude, I'm gonna do this. And the other thing, did you notice, Stu? We're gonna talk about Angie in the third person now. Did you hear that self-talk? Did you hear the way that Angie talks to herself?
Beautiful. Yeah.
That is strong. I mean, that's good stuff. So what made you decide that what made you decide you wanted to figure out copywriting and funnels and selling and all that stuff? And then how did that transition into wanting to write a book? Why did you want to write a book?
Sure. So I have always enjoyed writing. I'll be honest, I didn't really do a lot of writing pre-COVID, but I always enjoyed it whenever I did write. And I kept thinking, how am I going to get my message out? Because I really am all about empowering and teaching people. I don't like to tell people what to do. I would rather show them how to do it, because I just think that is so much more impactful and they gain so much more from it. And I think I'm hilarious whether other people do or not. And so if they're having fun while they're learning, hopefully it sticks even a little bit more. And so I kept thinking, without a stage, how am I going to do this? How am I going to convey that without a stage? Because of COVID, there were no stages. And the book it was just front of mind, and I know that, I remember back to Jim talking about in 1992, his real estate book, and how it wasn't a real book because it wasn't on Amazon and all that stuff. I remember that story. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot, because what's the worst that can possibly happen, right? Nobody buys it. So yeah. So then I had to learn, because I didn't know. What did I know about writing a book? Zero. And like I said, I started learning from Jim, and I got the, how to write write and publish a book in less than 7 days. And that the rest is kind of history in that regard.
Nice. Is that the book behind you right there?
So yes.
What does that look like?
This is Don't Just Try. There's a glare. Do It for Your Why. And it's all about how female millennials can succeed and live their best life, because I talk a lot about work-life balance, but work-life balance to me sucks, because it implies 50-50, and I don't want to spend 50% of my life working. So I like life-work harmony, and life comes first. Nice. Where in work-life balance, work comes first, and I don't like that. So I talk a lot about that, and then learning from my mistakes, because for a long time I settled with that's all you're worth, and hell no, I'm worth more, and I know that, and I'm no longer going to settle ever again. And that's my triumph story is in here.
Nice. We're all experts at making mistakes. That's right. For sure.
Amen to that. Yes, it's really my hero's journey to use some of Jim's language.
So what made you feel, what drew you to the feminals and to really to coin a new phrase that you were able to copyright or trademark, that feminals thing, and tell me a little bit about how do you convey what a feminal is to a female millennial, or do they already know what a feminal is? Talk about that, because you're really carving out that niche.
Yeah, thank you. So I started just doing some research. I started going online, looking at different niches. Where are the moms? Where are professional women with children? Where are professional women without children? And I just wasn't connecting. I started going on, reading different magazines, going on different social medias, reading different blogs and listening to podcasts of all these different niches. And none of them were really resonating with me. And then I came upon this niche of female millennials. And I was like, these girls are really cool, and they don't know it. Like, they have no idea that they're really cool. And it bothers me so much that in reading and the themes that were coming out, that they're settling for that's all they're worth. And I'm like, I know what that feels like. And I want to empower them and show them they don't have to settle. They don't have to accept that's all you're worth. And they're settling in relationships. They're settling in their careers, and they're working jobs rather than having a career. And it just bothers me because I know how yucky that feels. And I have the solution. Like I have it's so simple. Like they can literally within an hour of speaking with me, they can go out and do the verbs and instantly change their lives. And so connecting with them was a little bit challenging because I'm not a female millennial. And so they were like, who is this old lady? And she tries to think that she's cool because she has tattoos and purple hair. And, and so
yeah, but you're a mentor to the millennial age.
And that's sort of, and thank you, Stu, because that's exactly, I just tried to say, look, come on this journey with me. I'm going to do things differently. Right now, you're being told what to do. No, I'm going to be right alongside you, and we're going to go through this journey together. And that has been so impactful. And a lot of them, they still aren't really learning, because to me, feminals is a powerful term, and it gives them a lot of strength. And I think a lot of them are still trying to learn that there is strength in the word feminine, but it's all a process. And so I just keep trying to empower them and encourage them and uplift them and mentor and guide them in ways that, for one, that they'll let me, because you can only help so much with someone so much with the permission that they give you. And so I really do respect the permissions that they give me, and I stay within my boundaries and trying to show them, that life can be so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a wonderful message. Tell me this, did you find a logical transition going from the stage to Zoom? Did that help you much?
So it was so different. It was so different because I feed off of the energy in the audience, and I am so much like, when I'm on stage, I don't stand still. Like I'm just zooming all around, and I'm interacting and engaging with the audience. And on Zoom, I mean, there would be times I would do trainings, I couldn't even see the people in my audience. And I'm like, are they picking their noses? Are they going to the bathroom? Are they sleeping? Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I struggled at first to switch to this online platform. I still think I'm trying to perfect it and have my energy come through as best as I humanly possibly can.
I think you're doing all right, Angie.
Well,
yeah, you're doing really well.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just like, you're doing really, really well, and I think I think you're probably doing better than you're giving yourself credit for. But I know it is hard when you're used to speaking on stage, and you can get that laughter, and you have those pauses, and you're like, okay, this is, and you got those two trains of thought going to what you're saying, and then you're listening and thinking of what's going on, and you're in that flow. And then they're laughs. So you're like, okay, let me go with this a little bit. And then, are the jokes falling flat? And, are they laughing? And at some point, and I'm sure you're already doing this, you just kind of let go and you're like, look, I'm doing my show. I'm here. If y'all are digging it, great. If you're not, well, I can see the number. Oh, that one didn't hit because the numbers just dropped. All right, well, I won't do that one again. And, but that's still okay.
Yeah.
So Angie, what are you doing now? What is your primary day like right now during the week?
I am doing one-on-one and group coaching with female millennials. And what's really cool, I really love the group coaching, which honestly, when I first started doing it, I didn't think I was going to love. I really thought because one-on-one, you just connect so much better. And I'm really finding that's not the case, at least for me. I'm really connecting with these women on a whole different level because there's comfort in many, that they feel in our little I'm Worth More community, they feel very safe to share, and they're embraced not only by myself, but also by the fellow community. And I think they're gaining a lot from that, more than even the one-on-one connection, which if you'd have asked me this before when I was starting it, I would have said the opposite would have been true. But I've learned that the group and the community is really where it's at.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you can create a group and community around it, the one most powerful thing that I think that creates is, a lot of the people who come in there kind of new at first, and then they kind of see the people progressing, and you almost have to see it to believe it, and you have to see this person doing what you're saying to do and hearing their stories about the progress. And you have to see the person write the book, and you're like, oh, I could write a book, just to make it happen. And that's very powerful. I agree with you. The groups are the way to go.
I've heard it said especially about memberships, people come for the content, but they stay for the community. And you're Angie's like, yeah, I'm the first one. Me first, pick me, let me go first. But we're the unicorns. We're the weird ones.
Yes.
But what happens is that a lot of people don't want to go first. They're scared crapless to go first. And only after they see others that they even feel an affinity for, or maybe even have developed a bit of a relationship with through the community, they see them doing it. And it's like, okay, well, if Mary did it and Sarah did, maybe I can do this. Maybe this will work for me. And, they see other people don't even know why they're not able to move forward. So they see people overcoming internal struggles. They see people overcoming external struggles. I mean, how many times have you ever seen something and you're like, holy crap, that's how you do it? I could do that. And then all of a sudden, the thing that was a great case in point with the podcast and stuff, I still remember, it was like 3 years ago. Stu and I like, dude, we need to start doing a podcast. He's like, yeah, we need to figure out how to do a podcast. Can you figure out how to do a podcast? Yeah, I'll go figure out how to do a podcast. Okay, we do podcasts with Zoom. Oh, okay, cool. Then what do? Well, we use this Podomatic thing that makes it the easiest. Okay, cool. Well, and then what happened was Stu went and did it, and he's like 100 episodes in on his podcast, and I'm like, shit, I don't have a podcast yet. I need to have a podcast. I did a couple episodes, so then I'm like, dude, we got to do a podcast, and this is how, and he's like, okay, well, I know how to do a podcast. You're going to do it? And I said, well, yeah, I guess we're going to do it. And now we're on your episode 127, Angie, is our 127th episode. So it's one of those things. Sometimes you got to see it done. And the only way you're going to see it done is with a community that has enough magnetic pull on you that you're actually paying attention to what's going on. And you don't know when it's going to be the hit for somebody. You don't know when it's, what's going to be that thing that pushes somebody over, that one story, that one video, that one demo, that one case study, that one tidbit, that one tip, that one step-by-step tutorial that just makes it work. You just don't know. So we as trainers and teachers and mentors, we have to do it and be consistent, because a lot of times also, you say for these young ladies, you're a mentor, and Angie showed me shared with me before we got started that she has a significant birthday coming up. I'm not going to share what it is, but we as mentors, one of the most important things we do as mentors is to show consistency, to have that authenticity, to do the things. I say it all the time. Stu wouldn't be able to reach the young people that he does if he wasn't in incredible shape and was out there doing it with them and kicking the ass of the 18, 19-year-olds. And, and then he's an example for me. I'm like, well, if that young guy, Stu Smith, can do it, I know I can do it, because he's younger than me.
2 years?
Hey, man, 2 years is a long ass time. Go do a squat in the woods in the cold for 2 years. That's a long time. Hell, that plank for a minute's a long time. Right. But the point is, if I wasn't doing content, if I wasn't doing a podcast, if I wasn't writing books, if I wasn't writing copy, if I wasn't doing it, how could I be someone to teach it? And, you know, the fennels that aren't going to pay attention to you because you're not a millennial are probably the millennials that people make fun of anyway. And you're carving out your niche of the ones who want a mentor, who want the quirky lady with the blue streak in her hair, literally.
You know,
I bet Angie can curse a blue streak. I had to say it. So go ahead, Stu. Go ahead.
That's a good one. You know, I'll say this too. You know, I know when I'm looking for advice, you know, I don't mind if it's from someone who's younger than me that understands technology a little better. I don't care if it's somebody who's older than me or my age. But especially in this group, you know, I guess the millennials are what, in their 30s now? You know, roughly in their 30s, you know, in that region, you know, so having someone who's already been through their 30s, gone through all this is the kind of person you need coming up with these kind of programs. I mean, that's because that world, you know, and that time frame for men and women is, you know, it's a great one, but it's also very challenging, and it can be life defining as well, you know, for the rest of your later years too. So whether it's fitness or it's business, you know, it can be a very big impact on how your remaining years go for you.
I think if anything, that's an understatement, Stu.
Yes.
I think it's everything that happens in your 30s determines what's happening. And then in your 20s, you're just trying to, you're playing grab ass with life. You have no idea what's going on. But in your 30s, it's like, oh crap, I better get serious about this shit because it's real. I mean, this is like retirement, and these little kids that showed up out of nowhere.
Don't
I'm
understand.
Having fun, drunken Saturday night. Now I got to put this little bastard through college. Come on.
These little kids don't understand the word hangover. What the hell is happening to me?
Exactly. So, Angie, I want to ask you back to your book and with the millennials. And I mean, you haven't had your book for a long, long time. So I'm going to ask you a kind of a two-part question. Sure. When you got that book done and when it became a number1 new release on Amazon, how did you feel about yourself?
Holy crap. That's not what I said. But it was along those lines. I was like, is this happening to me right now? Because I literally had no idea how impactful or powerful my message was going to be received. I mean, I just had no idea. And then the love and the support and becoming a #1 new release in education leadership on Amazon, I was like, what? Pinch me. Like, it really didn't sink in right away. And so then I would see people like out living in a rural community. Everybody knows everybody. And people would say, oh, you're that girl who just wrote a book. And I'd be like, yeah, you know, and I was trying to be like all humble and stuff, but I wanted to be like, hell yeah, I'm that girl that wrote a book. And did you see my numbers?
Yeah. That is awesome. That is awesome. And then second part of that question is, what has the reception been within the community with the feminals, with the ladies you're trying to help?
Oh my gosh, just so much support and love. And I needed to hear that message, and I didn't know other women were experiencing the same thing that I am currently experiencing. You know, being afraid to talk about it. And, you know, women, especially millennials, they really do care what people think about them. And so they get timid to speak up and share what's on their mind, or to ask those challenging, difficult questions to their managers, supervisors, CEOs, or whomever. And so they feel now they have a sense of power, and there is good stuff that happens on the other side of that. And so working with them on their communication skills, it's like, I hear you. I know you don't want to come across like a bitch, and I know that you care what other people think about you. So let's formulate your message in your words, not in Angie Gilner words, in your words, because that's when it's authentic. It's going to come across genuine. It's going to come straight from your heart, and it's going to be more received than if it's just a canned script where someone's just reading off of a sheet of paper. And so teaching them and showing them that these things are possible and they can have their very own triumph story. And that's the cool part, because not only in our community do we offer mentoring, we also offer reverse mentoring where it's very reciprocal. And so who was the mentee now becomes the mentor. And it's a really fun concept because different women are at different places in their career. And so some are a little bit further in their journey of recognizing and understanding their worth more, and some are just getting started. And so, but everyone has valuable input. And so what can we teach each other? How can we learn from each other? And that's a big theme within our community, because I don't have all the answers. I don't profess to have all the answers. But you know what? Someone in the group does. Someone in this community has the answer to that question. So let's figure it out.
So one thing, one thing I'm always thinking.
I love it.
You need to really document and record and pay attention to how you're growing and diversifying your community and helping them to grow and engage and all that other stuff, because there's probably a multi-7-figure payday for you in then training other people how to develop and create a community around something that has nothing to do with making money online or any of that stuff like that. So as you're doing it, it's kind of like I never thought about I'd be teaching people how to do eBooks when I was doing my own eBooks.
Oh, yeah.
So just pay attention to, record, and really document how you're building that community, because I could see you out training people how to build their community in a similar way. Just saying. I'm sorry, Stu. I know I cut you off because you were opening your mouth, but that was a
It's
idea
not a
that
problem.
popped up.
It segues perfectly in. You've created a very nice community for yourself and obviously your group of women millennials. Did you find the same kind of helpful advice and mentorship in Jim's Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks Facebook group? Are you a member of that?
I am, yes. And I'm what I call myself a gator. Like, so if you think about how alligators are, they're always sitting at the surface and just, you don't necessarily know that they're there, but they're watching and they're listening and they're learning. And so I consider myself a gator in Jim's community because I'm always out there watching, learning, notes upon notes upon notes, because I appreciate Jim's knowledge and then how he has created his own community, and the knowledge that's within that community is just invaluable. And I have gained, I would encourage anyone to become a part of Jim's community for sure.
Nice. Now, did you do the 7-day ebook challenge?
I did.
With everybody. I didn't see your cover on there. Last week we did a great show on all the covers that came into the group, and it was very inspiring to see that many people getting their book done. I assume you did it the same way everybody else did, went to Fiverr and got it done? Or did you find something?
Nope, I did. I went to Fiverr. Actually, I went to Jim's girl, Angie, who he recommended, and she knocked it out of the park for me. And so this is one of those moments where I'm a gator, because also I have a very strong personality, and I also know when I need to sit back and not be a leader, where I need to be in the audience and learn and absorb information and knowledge. And so Jim's community allows me the opportunity to be able to do that, where I can be that gator and sit back and learn and not always be out in the forefront. And so I'm very methodical in that. And
There's nothing wrong with that. In the military, we
Uh-huh.
call that being in receive mode, right?
Oh,
Versus transmitting all the time, right?
yeah.
You're just listening, right?
Yeah.
You're just listening and learning. So no, that's a great place to be. And now tell me this, have you considered what's next? Do you have a second book idea perhaps, or another element of business that you're considering and expanding?
So yes, I actually already have the title, using the killer title wizard.
Nice. One of my
That's
favorites.
great. There you
Yeah.
go.
And I already have the
Lay it
title
on me, baby.
for my next book. And I'm having Achilles tendon surgery tomorrow. And while I'm down, I'm going to take this opportunity to write. I'm going to do things differently based on what I learned with my first book. And I've gotten more into Jim's community as far as like copywriting and that type of thing. And so taking what I've learned from there, implementing it, that I really think my next book's going to be even better than my first book. I really, I expect a lot of improvements just based on what I've learned, because I still don't know everything, but I'm definitely willing to learn.
Well, I will tell you this, it gets easier the second time, and it gets easier the third time. You really start streamlining the process, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this done. You can do it in an afternoon when I'm talking about not the book, but getting it up
Creating the
online
content,
and
yeah.
doing all that. And
Yeah. And I'm actually today in about an hour, I'm teaching a class inside the Jim Edwards Method Premium. I had some people who went through it. They're like, hey, this is cool. I want to make it thicker. I want to have a bigger book. So I'm actually teaching a class this afternoon, how to fatten up your ebook course or master class for maximum length and content. And I'm going to teach 30 ways that you can quickly fatten that thing up as much as you want. So this isn't something that we just dropped and then we're dropping. I mean, this is something I've been teaching people to do for 20 years. So we're constantly evolving and finding new and better ways of doing it. There's some new software coming out this fall. A buddy of mine who created a software called Publisher Rocket.
I have it.
It's awesome.
I was on the other day and I was like, this is a no-brainer. I have it.
It is a no-brainer. And he's coming out with some software that is going to actually change the way I teach how to do the 7-day book method. You're going to be able to edit and lay out and do everything for your book all in one step. It's going to eliminate so much stuff. I am so excited for what's coming. It's amazing. So this is definitely something that we have a commitment to, teaching people how to how to write and publish your book, but then also how to use it as a real legitimate business tool, not just as a gimmicky thing that you just do, which some people do that. Other people turn it into a serious business tool and use it to get real extra business. I mean, build your whole business around that book. I mean, that's your framework. That's your story. That's where everything that you're teaching these feminines is coming from. So everybody's got to have that. You got to have at least the one book that lays it out for you. I mean, I've written a bunch of books, but when I was like, okay, if I'm going to be serious about being the copywriting guy within the ClickFunnels community, within my own community, I need to put my money where my mouth is and actually create the book. But then always looking for ways to do something faster and easier. I'm like, Stu, I need to do my audiobook. And I really don't want to sit in there and just read it. I was like, hey, can I read it to you? And he's like, sure. And well, let's have you ask me questions afterwards. It's like, sure. Stu's easy. I mean, Stu's like the easiest guy to work with ever. It's like, hey, can I read you the book and you ask me questions? Yeah, let's do it. So, hey, Angie, I'm gonna throw a carrot out for you. I think you're amazing. I love your energy. I can tell that I can tell that you know what you're doing. So I'm going to throw something. I've never done this before, but I'm going to invite you right now. Mark your calendar in November 2022, we're doing the next gym boat. That's when the gym boat is happening again. It'll be gym boat 9. And I'm going to want you, if you come on the cruise, I will have you be one of the speakers. And I want you to, that'll be a way for you to get in front of a live audience again. I'm expecting we'll probably have about 150 people. So it's not like 1,000 people, but I'm going to have you speak either about leadership, or we'll have you talk about, by then you will have really built up your community even more. Maybe you can talk about all the things you've learned about community. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you come on the gym boat, I will have you be a speaker and give you a slot. Because I would just love, I could just see you just lighting up the room and just being so much fun. So that's, I think that's going to be awesome. Yeah, I think it'll be great.
Oh my God.
And hopefully Stu will be there too. His kids are one's graduated, the other one's in college. They can, he'll just throw some cat food on the floor and tell them we'll be back in a week. They can take care of themselves. So hopefully Stu will be there. I think it's going to be when everything's done. I mean, November 2022 actually isn't that far away.
No.
And it's, I know it seems like a long time, but it's not. It'll be here before you know it. And I think that's going to be kind of we'll graduate out from COVID and all that good stuff. So I just put that out there. And it's a genuine offer too, Angie. I'm really impressed with you and the action that you've taken and everything that you're doing. So I think that's great.
Thank you. I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
I would love the opportunity.
Yeah. Cool.
You're awesome.
So Stu, we're following your format for the 2 through and after on the tactical podcast. What is it?
Tactical Fitness Report.
Tactical Fitness Report.
Yeah.
And so how do you wrap these up, Stu? How do you bring everything we've done into focus and conclusion and drop the mic? What do you do?
Well, typically it ends like this. So what is next, Angie? What is next? That's the last question. What's next for Angie Gilner?
Sure. So I am actually looking for in August of 2021, a very specialized group of female millennials, feminines, 75 of them who are willing to come on a deep dive journey with me, who are serious about taking their life to the next level, whatever that looks like for them, whether it's a promotion or switching industries or getting an education, whatever that looks like for them. And taking a real deep dive into how do we make this happen? How do we overcome barriers? Because so many times people don't do the verbs because there's a barrier in front of them. And that's like, no, we're going to get those out of the way. I'm going to show you how to get those out of the way. So I'm looking for 75 laser focused feminines who really are just strongly desire to just take their life to the next level, whatever that looks like for them. Because I'm not living their life. They've got to define that for themselves.
Yep.
And just get super focused, and we're just going to meet and have fun and learn and grow and develop and all have rock star amazing stories coming out on the other side of it. And then my second book will be out by then.
Nice.
For sure, because I mean, I can do it in 7 days, right?
Yes, you can, or quicker.
Yeah. And while you can't walk anyway, you might as well just sit down and start typing.
That's exactly. And yes, and it's my right foot, so I can't even drive. So I'm stuck. So I'll be like right in the way.
Get it done. Get it done. Use that time well. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, well, Angie, you are completely inspiring. I wish you well. I'm really excited that Jim took the initiative to have you on and completely change our planned schedule for today.
Yeah, but we're ready for next week.
But yeah, I don't have to do anything to prepare for next week. We already have it done. Now, this was, I love these curveballs that Jim throws at me, and this one was very special. So thank you very much for doing
thanks,
this.
Angie.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. I am truly, I am geeking out. I got to meet Jim Edwards, and I am so honored by that. And I just thank you guys so much. It's been so much fun.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Angie. And we will end in typical format. We will end with a polka. It just keeps going. Bye-bye, everybody.